Morning, everybody. Welcome back to City Gritty. This is Bill Valelli of CTI, Inikio, Evolve Tech, the whole nine. I wanted to do these a lot more, and I think it's important for everyone to really know what's happening. What prompted me today is the longshoreman strike. And believe it or not, you may not think it relates to what I'm about to talk to you about, but I think it does. So the longshoreman strike is going to have a lot of obvious repercussions, but there's also going to be things that you may or may not know might happen. The first thing is the obvious stuff. You know, for our industry at least, it's going to be the parts. That's the glaring thing that we're going to hear about first. If dealers aren't keeping stock, which if I know dealers pretty well, there are some really great ones that keep a great stock, and there are others that just don't. Some just don't do wholesale. So it depends on the dealer that you're dealing with. But that's the first thing. But I want to really drill into what's deeper here, right? Why, as a whole in this nation, are we, and I say we, as in the collision repair business, why are we in such a lull? And many have many opinions. Some may think that it's just that time of the year. I love hearing that, where they say, "Well, people don't travel as much. It's the fall, and no one's driving, and no one's doing anything like that." I don't know about that. You really have to look deeper, right? We talk about the economy, and I think it's a big part of it. We talk about the deductibles may affect one's decision making. I think it's even deeper than that. I think if I had to really drill in and ponder this, when you speak to consumers, like I do on a daily basis, whether it be on an appraisal clause or a total loss or diminished value, uh, or as simple as just to consult, like, what do you think that my car is worth? Or, this shop is X, this insurance company's X, where do we meet in the middle? There seems to be a common denominator or a common theme there. I think the biggest concern is they worry that insurance rates go up. And that's common across the board, wherever you are in the country. Whether I speak to someone in Colorado, New York City, Florida, it really doesn't matter. And I think my colleagues will agree with that. But what is the longshoreman strike going to do? Aside from a body shop not be able to source a headlight on a Honda Accord. So I don't know how long this is going to go, but we know the obvious. So I'm not going to go nuts with that. Thinking about, like, where am I going to get a loaf of bread or $100 roll of toilet paper? As things progress and as these items become more and more expensive, what are the first and the last to go? We already know that people have to travel to work. We already know that people have to travel to school, whether using public transportation, which of course that's going to increase, but that's also going to be affected in some way. Hopefully someone could shed some light on how that mechanism works. But as this grows, there's going to come a point, just like in COVID, where people are just going to say, "Hey, I'm not working." Either A, they're not driving and they're going fully remote, or they're just, I'm not going to go to work. I'm laid off. My company can't afford to keep me on board, or just say, "Listen, I can't afford gas," because that's going to be affected as well. So then you're going to see a deeper effect. I think it's going to be, I think at first, and then you're going to see a change and then a really big spike because people are going to worry right now. And then they're going to kind of settle in, go back to work for now, and then it's going to spike when it really affects the rest of the economy. How could that affect our business? How could it affect what I do, what my colleagues do? It's tough to say. Will someone be more aggressive on a total loss dispute? Will someone try to pursue a repairable dispute more aggressively because there's really nothing else to do? I don't know. As a body shop, are you going to take that point where there's an extreme economic event that's happening and unfolding before our eyes, and uh, take advantage of that in advancing your business. I don't know. Are you going to have those disposable funds to invest in equipment? Are you going to be able to even get financing for said equipment? Are you going to look into gaining deeper contracts, which again is going to require additional equipment, additional marketing resources? It's tough to say, but my quick evaluation, as we all know already, so it's not any big news, it's going to be a significant event. So what do we do from here? I think what you have to do is a few things. I think A, take an inventory in parts immediately, whatever you have. And I know you all have, even the best of them have parts that are around, bumpers that are sitting on a rack that you just haven't returned. I think I would be a little more hasty to getting rid of it. I think I would make contact with your vendors right now, literally right now, find out what they hold in inventory. I had some fantastic conversations over the last 24 hours, and some really large dealers, some small dealers that I have relationships with, and some of them have felt this and saw this coming, because essentially this contract or this negotiation has been going on July. They knew that this was going to be imminent. So some have taken advantage of that. So you may want to align if you don't have a dealer that has a very big inventory, and I know there's a lot of them in the boroughs and also in certain large urban areas within the cities around the country. Maybe you start reaching out and branch out your dealer relationships with, and just find out, hey, what's your inventory on certain parts? Where do you know we're going to have challenges? Second thing, I think you have to be really smart with scheduling. So if you have a job you would typically not take on, that may offer some kind of complexity, I think you would really engage those jobs in getting them in, because again, the machine needs to run. I think you have to, if you're a business, I think you have to strongly think about your reserves, specifically payroll. You have to engage your insurance partners if you have them. That does not mean necessarily a direct repair program, but just speaking from a pure business sense, if you have an insurance company that you're dealing with on a regular basis, and I know most of you in the country do, it's worth at least a conversation. Schedule appraisals quicker if possible, because they're going to be busy too. They may be affected. If you're thinking fuel is a factor, they're certainly going to be affected. So you may want to have a conversation with them, just trying to at least set the groundwork on getting those appraisals scheduled. If you are a direct repairer, it deserves an immediate conversation. I don't necessarily know where that'll go, but you really want to offer potential different services. If you have a concierge service, make sure that that's displayed, because I think the biggest thing is the work. But above all that, I think the consumer has to have a major level of conversation. There has to be an understanding about these obstacles. If you don't, you will have a more serious situation that we already do. So having a conversation based on the things that I just mentioned, like, listen, I spoke to my dealerships, I spoke to the insurance companies that perhaps will be inspecting this car. If you are a direct repairer, make sure you have that kind of conversation, saying, hey, we've laid out how we're going to arrange the appraisals. These are all things that you need to prepare for right now if you're in the collision repair business. If you're an insurer, if you're a staff appraiser, if you're an independent, these are a major conversation you have to consider, because your workload, in my opinion, although you may think it may be less, your trouble is you have to remember that the other side is going to be really fast in scheduling these because there's going to be a rush to order these parts. If you're on that side, you may want to consider, well, you're going to encounter major rental issues. So if you're working for a carrier, they're managing rental, that's going to be a major problem. So you have to have a conversation as well when you're engaging with a consumer, a vehicle owner, claimant, whatever it may be. So your challenges are just different. In the event of supplements or appraisals, we can go down that road, but we also have to consider whether you're a shop or you're a staff appraiser or independent. You really have to consider capturing all the damage as soon as possible. Some may or may not agree with that, but I think with the respect of the consumer, whether you believe that's your way or not, I think it's important to operate your business in as smooth and as efficient as possible. I think complete teardowns, accurate and correct blueprint is absolute paramount. So that's a major part of it. But I think the biggest thing is communication. And I think if you effectively execute all that, you're going to still encounter major issues. There's no doubt. Because I also think one of the major things that you're going to see is you're going to see more tows. You're going to see, because again, people aren't going to drive. You're going to have minor impacts where no one is going to want to drop it off, considering the economic cataclysmic effect that this strike may have. So to think that you're immune to this, if you think that, is completely ignorant. But as I always believe, you have to take this on full steam, head on, and with extreme caution. And in caution, I mean understanding what's ahead of you. We went through it with COVID. We did it. And no one was ready for it. We didn't know what we were going to encounter. Some were really good, some were really bad. But and bad, I mean slow versus busy. But what we all experienced, and we all know this, whether you are a staff appraiser, an independent, a body shop, whatever, what happened when things started to cool off? We exploded. Nationally, exploded. They call it the COVID Renaissance. It's too much work for anyone to handle. Too much work for a body shop to handle. Too much appraisals for an appraiser to handle. Then you're dealing with state regulation and just good business practice. That was an extreme tidal wave of volume. And those that navigated it well stayed the course and scheduled it correctly throughout and really performed all of the above that I just mentioned. So this is here. It's reality. It's happening, whether we like it or not. I don't know how long this is going to go, but you have to remember, if this goes on for a week, 2 weeks, guess what? Even if it's going into the West Coast port, which I know some manufacturers operate that way and have hubs all over the country, you're going to see, in my opinion, a major backlog in all of those ships that did not enter the East Coast shorelines. So if you're waiting for certain parts, but no, it's still in country, and they're heading out to the port, that's going to be a major backlog. So no matter what we think we can alleviate this problem, the problem is already happening. It's not even one day. It's not even 24 hours. But it's going to affect us. This ends today. Sure, it'll be a shorter period of recovery, but there's going to be blowback to epic proportions, at least for an X period of time. So, like I said, be smart, prepare correctly, deal with the problem head on. Don't expect it to correct itself and cry about it. You guys that know me know that there's nothing I can't stand even more than laziness. So again, be proactive. Don't be reactive. Just hunker down, get ready for the storm because it's here. And guys, let's get after it. So quick 2 cents from me. Let's get after it. Let's be successful. Let's serve our customers, our consumers, our drivers, anyone that opens our doors. If you're a staff appraiser, good luck out there. Stay the course, stay open-minded. And from Switzerland, Billy out.